Hi, I'm Rich and welcome to the first episode of what will be the Calm Man Vodcast series.
Then you go, I know you, put you down and breathe. Turn your mind away from it. You're not suppressing it.
Yeah.
You're just not entertaining it fully.
Not entertaining the idea
but
of it.
You hold it there and say, thank you, I know your anxiety. I'll just put you down there and I'll come back to the moment.
The purpose of this series is to really try and engage more people with the art of mindfulness and meditation. And I think one of the reasons why more men don't try this out is because they're too scared or kind of worried about the spiritual connotations that are often associated with mindfulness. But it's really simply just taking some time out of your day to focus on your breath and bring yourself back into the present moment. Focus on your present awareness, your body, your breathing, and just taking yourself out of this sort of cognitive loop we're often caught up in. This kind of narrative which is always just barking away in the back of our minds, and you know that causes us a lot of stress, anxiety, can lead to depression. So it's really important that we're able to just sort of ground ourselves as human beings. One of the reasons I wanted to interview Huw first is because he has this really unique way of being able to deliver his teachings to men in a way that resonates with them, that they can understand. It's not overly spiritual, it's not overly complicated. And one of the things that Huw does really well is he really drills into the science behind meditation and mindfulness and how effective it can be, because more than anything people just want proof that this stuff works, and he's really good at sort of drawing it out, a clear picture of how the brain works and how mindfulness can help present awareness. Huw teaches mindfulness to businesses, banks, local schools. He runs workshops in the community. He runs mindfulness retreats in Somerset. He's been the world over, lived in Switzerland, London, Ireland. So really Huw is a great person to learn from, and he's the first person who ever introduced me to meditation. You know, I've become very much, you know, I practice meditation daily now, and it's become part of my daily routine really, and I just want to encourage more people to try out the practice. So welcome to our very first Calm Man Vodcast. I'm joined by Huw here, who's the co-founder of Calm Man alongside myself. And one of the reasons why I mentioned at the start why I wanted to interview Huw is because Huw is the first person who introduced me to mindfulness. I did his mindfulness stress-based reduction course, and that was an 8-week program, and that very much introduced me to the practice of mindfulness. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me with Huw is that his practice is very much focused on the science behind it, how to introduce new neural pathways to your brain and change the way we think about things. So I'm really interested, Huw, in first of all, how did you get involved in meditation, and was it particularly the science that attracted you to meditation?
No, not at all. No, I started off as a Buddhist, and it was very much the spiritual side and finding realization and calmness. And after years of practicing this and going to many teachers, I realized that there was something sort of missing, a very basic part of it, because there's a lot of intricacy and there's a lot of formatting in Buddhism, in classic Tibetan Buddhism. And then I came across John Kabat-Zinn, his book Full Catastrophe Living, and then he starts going into this, and you can see how he's stripped away a lot of the religious paraphernalia and brought out just the core of mindfulness, which is really just being in the present moment on purpose, non-judgmentally.
Yeah.
And in fact that is all insight meditation is. So that was wonderful, because reading that, and then from that came the science, because he was a medical person.
Of course, yeah.
And then you realise that with the fMRI scanning in 2000, late 1990s and 2000s, things started changing, because you could see the difference. You could see the amygdala. You could see what happens when your consciousness is changing and the different states of consciousness, your anxiety levels or your calmness levels. And then various people wrote some very good books on it, and then you just get more and more into it. And I'm also an acupuncturist, so the science has always been one of those things of trying to prove to the Western medicine that acupuncture works. I mean, I know it works, but they don't believe that. They want to see the science.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then I realised that a lot of people, due to our upbringing and our whole of our education system, want to know, quite rightly, we want to know, how does this work? Do I have to believe it? Is it a cult? Is it something I need to sign up to? Or can I actually just think about it, logicate it slightly, and see whether it makes sense? So I really worked on making it simple. And one of my jokes in class is to say, is anyone here a neuroscientist? And when no one puts their hand up, I say, great. So then I can say what I like. Because obviously what I say is not kind of true, but it is true.
Yeah.
It's the basis. It's a very simple view of understanding. Because of course it's incredibly difficult. You can get into huge areas of what's happening and the different organs. And everyone will sit there going, because it'll go over their head. So I like to bring that in, because to get people on board is so important in mindfulness to begin with, because it's all about practice, and therefore you've got to start thinking, oh yeah, maybe I'll have a go at this.
Yeah, I think one of the things you just touched upon there, which I find really interesting, is that you mentioned John Kabat-Zinn, and I've read a few of his books as well, and actually I think he started exploring mindfulness in like the 60s or something like that, and back then it was very much people were just caught up in the spiritual connotations, just like, what is this guy doing? And it's taken years and years and years of him banging the drum and sort of almost showing people that there are published papers around this stuff, that, the proofs in the pudding. And it's only now until, sort of like yoga, fitness, well-being, it's all just become very much a sort of buzzwords, a lot of focus and an emphasis in that space, that people are actually going, oh yeah, John Kabat-Zinn. It's like, where's he been for the last sort of 40, 50 years? You know?
But it is so powerful, because there has been a whole sea shift, a change of attitude to the mind, emotions, spirituality and the body. My father was a very eminent surgeon, and he used to literally cut things off here, and above there you went to see the shrink, below there the doctors went in and did their stuff. Now of course everyone's seeing things more holistically, the mind, the body, the spirit all together. And that really helps, because nothing is separate. We are very interconnected, like we're interconnected with the planet as well, and nature, and that's part of the problematic side we've got of mental health.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that as well. I think we are very much caught up in the everyday, aren't we? Our phones, work, we've always got to be somewhere, we've always got to do something. Actually, very seldom do we take the time to actually interconnect, like you say, with the body and the mind. It's almost like they're two sort of disconnected things. And I know actually one of the things that you've introduced is the sort of movement aspect of it, and do you think that that's something that people need to...
Well, you see, mindfulness isn't anything at all. It's the way you do everything. I mean, so long as you can actually distract the mind into the present moment on purpose. You see, we have distractions, which our society is brilliant at. Go to the movies, cinema, drugs, sex, alcohol, the whole lot. That's a sort of a distraction which takes you away from the moment. So you don't feel your pain, you don't feel your anxiety, your stress, or your worry. Or you come into the moment and realise that in this moment I'm okay. But it's harder, because it's more of a challenge, and you've got to kind of sit there and drop all the stuff and all the stories and all the narratives you've got in your head and all the shoulds and the musts and the ought tos, and just actually just be. And it's easier, of course, if you're down by the beach or up on a mountain or by the lake or the river. It's easier to be, although not always. You can still take your head with you there. But if you learn to focus your mind very gently with a full attention in the present moment, things begin to happen. The tensions unravel. The spaciousness of the mind comes back, and then you begin to see more clearly how you set yourself up.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how the sitting part of it, to so many of us, that seems like such a strange thing to do, like such a foreign thing to do, just sitting and focusing on our breathing, our bodies, the space we're in. Yet, sort of being frantic and getting caught up in the everyday and all these different bits of technology and different things going on in our lives, that is very much a part of our everyday. And that's...
It's a bit like you're saying just about that movement, coming back to that. It's like, you don't have to sit. You don't. You can do a walking meditation. But that means when you walk, you have to be in the next step, in the very step you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going anywhere. It's not end gaming.
Yeah.
It's actually really recognizing the movement as you're doing it. So yoga is extremely good for that.
Yeah.
Pilates is good for that.
Yeah.
Mindfulness walking is good for that. So it's the way you do what you do rather than what you're doing. That makes sense. Now that's the difficulty, because we're always end gaming. This clever prefrontal cortex always likes to think it's getting somewhere, achieving something. I think that's a legacy of actually the Industrial Revolution, capitalism, science, all coming together.
The pace of the world.
And we're always being rewarded for having a clever mind. But that's actually part of the problem with mental disorders at the moment, because we're too much in our emotions, in our minds, to actually be present.
Yeah. So obviously we've been working on sort of Calm Man and trying to create a platform for more men to speak about mental health, explore the mental health, and ultimately try out the practice of meditation, which so many men are so reluctant to try out.
Yeah.
Obviously the stats are there, you know, they say that suicide is the biggest killer for men under 45. Why do you think it is that men find it so difficult to speak about their problems?
Simply it's a transition. We're going, everything's going so fast, and we've been the yang solidity. We go out and do things, we protect, we're the strong ones. Yeah. And you have a purpose. Yeah. I think when your purpose goes, when your job goes, when your marriage goes, when your environment goes, you're left in this vacuum. And also, as men in the West, we don't have initiation of becoming a man. Yeah. Women will have children, they become a woman. A girl becomes a woman. A man, well, what do we do? Yeah. I mean, really, there's no battles to go out. If we were in the Amazon, we'd go off for 3 weeks and do stuff and come back. For us, we're just grown-up kids. We never quite get there. Yeah. Therefore, when your illusory support system falls apart, who do you talk to? Yeah. Because everyone else around you seems to be doing okay, you know, and they're not, but they seemingly are, because they're not owning up to it. I think that's the hesitancy. Also, women naturally talk to each other. They like to talk. We don't like to talk. I don't know, some men do, but I do make a lot of generalizations. I like generalizations, but they're always wrong. But it's kind of like women like to share their feelings. Men tend not to share their feelings. I don't think it's genetic. I think it's a sort of a pattern we've grown up with for survival. Yeah, sure. So I think what we're crossing into, I'm trying to say, is what we're crossing into now is a new terrain of men. You see more men carrying their babies, pushing the prams, doing the nappies. That was never heard of 40 years ago. Yeah. So the change is huge, to have sort of the feminist man who's seeing his wife, his partner, his girlfriend as an individual whom he's respecting at the same, not just my wife, not just my mum.
So what solutions do you think we could offer to, you know, sort of men like me that have been in situations before where they've felt anxious, nervous in certain situations? Let's say, for instance, they're in a social situation, they feel really overwhelmed. Is there sort of like a technique or a tip that you could offer?
Yes, but my tips and techniques are slightly different from the usual sort of CBT or psychological ways of let's talk about it. No, I think you need to come back to yourself and feel good about yourself. Because I think the social anxiety is you thinking other people think something of you. Yeah. And they don't. No one gives a toss about you. No one gives a shit. I'm sorry. It's that simple. Yeah. When you really realise that, but you don't realise that because you're not feeling good in yourself. You feel a bit, actually, you know, am I right? You're questioning yourself with your intellectual mind. So if you do the mindfulness practice, which is just sitting, just being, or walking and just being, you undo that knot in you, which is that sort of self-reflecting neurosis of overthinking about yourself, evaluating, judging, self-judging. You just loosen that and you accept yourself. Okay, I'm not perfect, but I'm who I am. Well, who else could I be? And then am I a nasty person? Well, actually, I quite like myself. I do what I can do, and I'm not horrible. And you have to reaffirm that, but you can't just do it with words. You need to get to a level below that of just sitting, and then that realization comes that you're okay. Yeah. Just in the moment. You see, it's all about being in the moment. We only have this moment. We tend to think we have this whole life. No, we have our past, which is gone, and we maybe have a future which hasn't happened yet. We only ever have this moment. By the time this goes out, this won't be the moment, it'll be another moment. But it is still the moment. Now, we can't really get that in the human brain because we tack them all together and make it my life. But it actually, the way you live this moment influences your life. So how you are now influences the next moment. How the next moment is, so on and so on. Therefore, the more calm, the more centered, the more accepting you can be in the present moment, the more calm, the more accepting you are in the next moment. Therefore, your whole life becomes calmer and easier to deal with. Now, that kind of acceptance isn't resignation. Doesn't mean you don't do anything. People think sometimes, oh, if I become mindful, I won't be able to plan anything or do anything. No, it's totally the opposite. You actually get more clarity in your mind. You can see more clearly. You know exactly what you want to do because you're not being befuddled by all these other impressions in your mind of what I should be, would it be, what would they think of it, what you know, all of that stuff. So you come from more your heart in a sense, more your intuition, more of your deeper self. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So accepting the moment isn't resignation. It's not doing anything. It's just being clearer, being easier on yourself. And therefore, your anxiety about what people think of you will diminish as you begin to believe in yourself. And that means you, not that you're horrible to people, you'll treat them in a way which it just is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly the same as going to the physical gym. Going to the gym, just signing up to the gym doesn't get you fit, right?
Yeah.
You've got to go to the gym once, twice, 3 times a week. You've got to do your workout. First week, second week, third week, oh, I'm getting there a little bit. Fourth week, you lose a couple of pounds, you can walk up Lansdowne, it's all a bit better, you know?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
The first time you do it, oh, why am I doing this? What's the point?
Yeah.
I can't see anything happening. Second week, third week, by the 4th or 5th week, it's like, oh, actually, you know, I'm feeling a bit more chill. I can see I've got a bit more space. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the way it goes.
I think that's the issue that I have with mental health campaigns, particularly in like modern media at the moment, is that it's very much around let's talk about it, let's try and create change, etc. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of solution. And I hate calling mindfulness a solution because it's
core.
It's you know, for me, I think what I've found that mindfulness has done for me is I've been able to accept the feelings that I have, witness them, and almost tick a box and go, oh, that's anxiety. Yeah. Oh, that's me feeling like this today. Once you can see it, then you can actually do, because you can go further than that. You can realise it, then you can learn to let it go. Yeah. Because if you can catch it before it hits you, then you've got a chance. Yeah. Because once that anxiety becomes you, you spiral, you catastrophize, and that's it. It's a calamity, and you're in it. And once that's happening, it's a self-motivating, self-propelling, purposeful or purposeless process of anxiety, and that'll just keep on going. If you can catch it before it hits, then you go, I know you, put you down and breathe. Turn your mind away from it. You're not suppressing it. Yeah. You're just not entertaining it fully. Not entertaining the idea
but
of it. But
you hold it there and say, thank you, I know your anxiety, I'll just put you down there and I'll come back to the moment. And that takes practice, but it really, really works. Yeah.
It's really nice to just have the stillness. I think that's something that so many of us crave so much in our lives is, and particularly when we talk about men that suffer from suicide, people that have issues that are ongoing in their lives that have caused them severe mental health problems, they just want to escape. And actually what mindfulness does, I think, is it allows you that space. And again, you talked about anxiety, how it just comes straight at you, and with mindfulness it allows you that space to be able to catch it and go, not today. Here I am.
You acknowledge it, but you don't allow it to affect you, because it's only a thought. It's not real. If it's happening, then deal with it. Yeah. But usually it's nothing's happening. It's just a remembrance of what happened, or a projection of what might happen. It's not even a reality.
I think one of the things that we're trying to achieve with Calm Man is really get a sense of how people can get introduced to mindfulness. For anyone who hasn't done mindfulness before, what would you suggest would be the first way to start?
Well, there's the free app.
Yeah.
Or do what we've just done.
Yeah.
So without having to join, go, whatever, you can just do that at home.
Yeah.
And it's a very clever app, and it works very well.
Mm.
After that, I would try and find groups of people to gather together with, to sit with. It's always stronger when you sit with other people.
Mm. That's the Calm Mind app, by the way. That's which is available on the iPhone and Android as well. Yeah,
you can throw a little thing about it.
Yeah.
And because I'm not advocating you join a cult or a club or even become a Buddhist or anything, no.
Yeah.
Because really it's about learning how to be in the present moment.
With yourself.
With
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
But it is helpful to do it in a group of people. So maybe
Yeah.
we need to just get groups of people who gather together and do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really have the answer to that one.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned groups of people, because I think that's the important thing, is getting communities involved in the first instance, because I think probably why a lot of people haven't tried it, you know, there's this kind of this tribal feeling with men, isn't it? There's sort of like, you going to the pub? Yeah, I'm going to the pub because he's going to the pub and he's going to the pub, and we're all going on a stag do, we're all going to a football match, we're all kind of united and one together. And actually, if you turned up and rang up your mates one day and 5 of them said, oh, do you know what, Steve, we're all going to meditate today, and you go, okay, well, I might give this thing a go. You know, so it is getting communities involved, isn't it, in the first instance, and actually that, you know, people might start to follow suit then and kind
absolutely,
and get more involved in meditation. I think what we're going to be doing for part of this series is we're going to be interviewing some really influential people in this space. I'd like to thank Huw for coming along today and getting involved in this interview. And if you want to follow some more content, it's calm-man.com. We're going to be posting some videos along the way. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, visit our website, visit Huw's site as well. Certainly try out the app, because the app's great. It's something you can take to work with you. I know from my experience, I meditate in the morning, meditate in the evening, but there's that time in between when I'm at work, and actually fatigue just hits me like that, particularly after lunchtime, I find, and actually that just totally wears me out, and then that's when I start ruminating, start thinking things in my head. So if you've got, you know, a device where you've got the capability to, you know, do some mindfulness counting or something like that.
But once you've made it a habit, then you can do away with it. You don't need it after a while. It becomes second nature to you.
Yeah.
It's all about learning the skill.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
Great.
Subscribe here. We've got some really inspiring people we're going to be interviewing over this series, and if you have any questions or you want to get involved or even blog on our website, then please get in touch, rich@calm-man.com. Thank you.